is not gold. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Storytime with Aladin at the amazing Rose Hill Community Centre, promoting the best in health, well-being and vitality. Unfortunately, not gold. Your story today is called King Midas and the Golden Touch. Once upon a time, there was a very, very rich king called King Midas who lived in the Greek Empire. He was king of the Greek Empire. He owned all, well, not in fact all, but he owned 75% at least, 75 over 100, 3/4 of all the gold in the world. And he kept it all to himself. And he only shared it with his beautiful daughter who he truly loved. But sometimes people felt maybe he loved his gold more than his wonderful, beautiful daughter. One day, King Midas was doing a survey of his kingdom with his loyal subjects and his bodyguards. This is my kingdom. I wish it were all gold, he thought to himself. Then he noticed in the distance Silenus. Now Silenus was wandering merrily through his gardens. Silenus was actually a god, the god of grape juice and merriment. And he was wandering like a damsel and a butterfly through the gardens. Well, King Midas noticed this and thought to himself, let me invite Silenus into my palace. Well, he invited Silenus into his palace and treated him like a royal subject. Silenus was truly touched. When Silenus's best friend Dionysus heard this, who was also a god as well, he came down and visited King Midas and said, thank you for looking after my dear friend, in fact my best friend, Silenus. And he said, I will grant you one wish. Well, King Midas's eyes lit up. Well, all you could see really was just gold in his eyes. Gold, gold, gold. King Midas, in fact, looked at Dionysus and said, I would love everything that I touch turned to gold. Well, Dionysus thought to himself for a moment and said, are you sure you want a wish like that? You see, that wish could cause more problems than what you bargained for. He said, I want that wish, demanded King Midas. So it shall be. You should have the wish tomorrow in the morning. And Dionysus left in a flash, as he was a god. Well, King Midas couldn't get to sleep that night. He couldn't sleep. All he thought about was gold. I shall be even richer than before. Well, when he woke up, he managed to get a few hours sleep. He noticed that his bed had become gold, and he struggled to get out of the golden bed, because obviously he was touching his bed. Then, when he put his feet on the floor went gold. Oh my gosh, everything he touched became gold. Well, he felt thirsty and he wanted to get a drink, but the drink turned to gold. He felt hungry, the apple turned to gold. Oh my gosh, he was so happy. Although he was hungry and thirsty, he was so happy. However, his daughter ran into his room and, not really thinking, he hugged his daughter to share the wonderful news that he could everything he touched would turn to gold. He hugged her and guess what happened? His beautiful daughter turned to gold. Then he realized his mistake. His wish which he thought was a blessing, had become a curse. Well, he got down on his knees and he prayed to the god Dionysus and said, please, let things go back to normal. I can't cope with this anymore. My precious daughter I've lost, and all the gold in the world cannot bring her back. Please, can you reverse this? He asked Dionysus. Dionysus took pity and said, yes, I will grant you that. What you must do is go and bathe in the river Pactos, and then everything will return back to normal. So King Midas, without a thought, without his bodyguards, ran to the lake, to the river Pactos, and he dived in the river, and he stood waist high with water, and he noticed that gold was dripping from his hands into the river Pactos. And actually, to this day, gold can still be found in the river Pactos. Well, when he returned home, everything was back to normal. His daughter was a happy, cheery self. His bed was normal. His drinking beaker was no longer gold, and the apple was still there, but no longer gold. He learned a very valuable lesson from this. What was the lesson he learned? He learned that gold is not everything. And he decided to share all this wonderful wealth of his. As I said before, he owned 75% of the world's gold. He shared with all his people, his folks, the people who he was meant to be looking after in his kingdom. He shared it with them. He eradicated poverty. He eradicated many issues related to lack of wealth. And in fact, what happened? He gained more gold as a result of giving. He also gained more love and more happiness and more respect from his people. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for listening to King Midas at Aladin Story Time. Have a lovely day! And remember, all that glitters is not gold.